The smoking gun in Russiagate, the smoking gun in BLS statistics, and the smoking Nazi for American Eagle. Today on the David Rutherford Show. What's up, everybody? Stoked to have you back today on the David Rutherford Show. It's once again, as I take 2 seconds back and trying to wrap my mind around everything as I'm out there on the road going from state to state and city to city, and I spend an exorbitant amount of time in airports, therefore an exorbitant amount of time with my face and consciousness buried in X, right? And which just recently became America's #1 app, which I thought was kind of funny, considering that Elon Musk is a Nazi, and that seems to be a really overbearing concept permeating across a lot of news stories right now, that their Nazis are on the loose. But what I'm trying to do, and Jordy, help me out if you're dealing with this a little bit too. And now I know you do have a newborn baby, so when you're not editing the show and making everything look awesome and building our audience and our following, I would imagine that taking care of that beautiful child is much more of a focus for you than keeping your nose on X. And I'm assuming I'm right in that, right?
I do my best. I'm not perfect. I'm a flawed man, but yeah, it's taking a little bit more time than X.
Well, all right, good. At least, all right, that makes me happy. Well, I cannot help it, obviously, for what I do for a living on multiple different platitudes or platforms on what I talk about every day. And on the microphone, I think by far the biggest story, hands down, is the story of all of the different revelations and the documents that Tulsi Gabbard released last week. This story quantifiably just dispels any other possibility of actual nefarious interference in the 2016 elections. And really, if for lack of a better term, for the actual term, I believe it's not too far of a stretch to say this was a coup. And it's apparent that Hillary Clinton and her cohorts in this conspiracy got together and they had to figure out how to solve the problem, which was massive, that she had been illegally storing the highest level classified material on her private servers and cell phones, along with other people in her political world, which is an illegal thing. Obviously, we saw Biden administration try and railroad Trump for the same thing in the Mar-a-Lago raid, which is ironic because, obviously Biden himself got, hit as vice president storing fake records, classified material in his garage at UPenn in the China Institute that was funded. And I mean, it's just, the fact that there is so much insane evidence of corruption from these people is nuts. And, and so she was in a jam. So what'd she do? She conjured up the whole Russiagate thing, that Donald Trump was a stooge, and launched this whole thing. Well, guess what? One of my favorite reporters in the whole world is a guy named Mike Benz. I'm sure you've seen him or heard him on Tucker Carlson, on Sean Ryan, on Joe Rogan, and just about every other podcast out there. The War Room, you name it, he goes on it, and he just does this incredible work that has been his life's work since 2016, which was to expose the industrial censorship complex that had been ultimately created through the intelligence or the IC world, initially through color revolutions, and then ultimately that was turned against the American people at the behest of the Clintons and the Clinton campaign. Now, this evidence that he discovered and that he posted just a few days ago, for me, was the linchpin. I mean, this is the thing. This is the smoking gun. And it was an email from a gentleman, and Jordy's going to put that up right now so you can look at this. And it's an email that was written by Leonard Bernardo, who was the senior vice president of Eurasian operations for the Open Society Foundation. Now, unless you've been under a rock, you realize that that's George Soros's organization. George Soros has very intimate ties to the Clintons, to Obama's, to Brennan, and all these other people. You know, there have been just thousands of NGOs that were funded by the Open Society Foundation for all kinds of nefarious things, and direct correlations for USAID and other intelligence operations. I can't wait till that investigation. That needs to begin ASAP. And I hope you're paying attention, anybody within DOJ. That needs to be taking place. So within this email, it basically, this is what it says, and it's dated July 27, 2016. Hi. HRC, Hillary Clinton, approved Julia's idea about Trump and Russia hackers hampering U.S. elections. That should distract people from her own missing email, especially if the affair goes to the Olympic level. The point is making the Russia play a U.S. domestic issue. Say something like a critical infrastructure threat for the election to feel menace, since both POTUS and VPOTUS have acknowledged the fact IC would speed up searching for evidence that is regrettably still unavailable. All right. So we know that the first inclination of this was hatched in May, June of 2016, when they realized, oh no, Donald Trump is polling pretty good. And that's when this whole thing was hatched. And what this email proves is that not only was Hillary Clinton and her crew involved, as well as John Brennan, Christopher Wray, deputy director, or the station chief over in London, I forget what her name is. She was the head of the CIA under Trump for a little bit. All these people within State Department, the FBI, even though they knew that this was made up, what was fascinating is that this was in the trove that Tulsi Gabbard recently released. And what it confirms is the conspiracy behind all these people, right? This was the conspiracy. And what was also interesting is that this term, critical infrastructure. Now, why is it so critical to understand the importance of this term? Because this term was then used on January 6, 2017. The outgoing head of DHS in the Obama administration basically deemed that elections comprised critical infrastructure laws and protection. And so thus making that anything that damages U.S. elections is now under the legal oversight of the Department of Homeland Security, right? And so just that term, anything that can be construed by the intelligence world, by the FBI, by DHS, by any group, NSA, any group within the IC ecosphere, then it becomes critical to the government in order to protect and defend and all that, right? And so what happened? As a result, this opened the door for this massive Mueller investigation into Donald Trump. It opened the door for the plan to be pushed through under the guise and the legal guise that, hey, elections were under attack. The 2016 elections are under attack, and that everybody that's affiliated in working or connected to Russia, i.e., the Steele dossier or the connection from Trump Tower to the Russian bank or whatever it was, then now all of a sudden anybody in that that is involved with the proposed attack on critical infrastructure, the elections of 2016, can guess what? Can now be censored, indicted, investigated, to whatever degree that the administration or the non-elected administration, the deep state, or as Mike Benz calls it, the blob. And this is something that you need to understand. You got to understand that when your government, which, if you really want to go crazy and go down a rabbit hole, and we should probably do this, we should, at Jordy, let's make a note, man. I would love to go find a world-class expert on the Patriot Act and somebody we can bring in and really go, because that's where we started to really lose our civil liberties. And I think, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And we saw this emerge after 2016. And then where did we really see this explode? Right? We saw it in 2020 in those elections. And you think this 2016 Russiagate stuff was crazy. Wait till Trump's administration and its DOJ, FBI starts to investigate the 2020 election fiasco. If you ask me, that's going to blow everybody, all this out of the water. It is probably the most catastrophic thing to have ever taken place in American history other than the Civil War. And we will find out that what we believe is true about our election system is absolutely false.
And our justice system.
Well, I think most people by now, and remember when we did the episode on the justice system, right? It's rules for thee and not for me. And we're seeing that. And that's why I think the MAGA movement and kind of this growing populace, and I don't just think it's the MAGA movement. I think it's liberals alike. I mean, my other favorite person covering this is Matt Taibbi of Racket News, and you should subscribe to on Substack to his group. They do wonderful reporting on all of this stuff. He won awards writing for Rolling Stone. He's definitely no conservative if by any stretch, but what he does realize is that America, the institutions are corrupt to the core, and that something needs to take place. Well, another aspect about this release in this particular document, and what we can do is, I just want to play just a little clip for you from Mike Benz on this little sequence, real short, and you can understand just the importance by just listening to the tone of his voice.
I mean, the whole thing is a bombshell. Crowd strike that was going to be used as a media vehicle. That Hillary Clinton had hatched this plot that the FBI was going to pour oil on it for them. But what's right in the middle of that paragraph? The goal is to make the Russia play a U.S. domestic issue, say something like critical infrastructure is a threat to elections. It was that casual, that flippant, that cavalier. Can you appreciate the seismic implications of such a throwaway sentence? Every university in this country was twisted by Russiagate. Harvard, tens of millions of dollars to study Russian interference. U.S. Army War College, money to study military strategy in light of Russian interference. Billions of dollars to NGOs to study and conduct counter operations to Russian interference when there was none. And they knew there was none the whole time. But what was the legal predicate? Because how do you get around the First Amendment? Well, you say, well, there's a government role in protecting critical infrastructure, and that supersedes, I guess, the First Amendment right to freedom of speech.
Great. When I listen to that dude, I get so fired up, I get so angry, I get so pissed off that, man, I just, what has taken place? Why are we in this position? And the fact is, the matter is that I think you just have a group of people that have moved into positions of power and the recognition that there are no ramifications for their actions. No matter what they do, they're going to get away with it. And even if they are found guilty or anything, it's not like they're going to jail. They're not paying fines. They're not losing. I mean, just now they lost their security clearances, but there's still people from that administration and from this whole operation that still have clearances that are still in the government. To which is just unbelievable. And our next story is going to be about that. So, the last thing that I just want to touch about on this is, in what was just released, we do have John Brennan's handwritten note from August 3rd, 2016, where he basically saw the DC leaks email confirming this. And this email was in those DC leaks, right? And if you're not familiar with the DC leaks stuff, these were basically that administration came out and said that it was this Russian military intelligence agency known as Fancy Bear. And according to the indictment by Special Counsel Robert Mueller, said that these 12 Russian GRU officers used the DC Leaks website established in June 16 as part of a Russian operation to interview in 2016. Well, when you dig into those, that's where we saw these claims, which also ended up to WikiLeaks, basically that, it was these groups, CrowdStrike, and some others, these cybersecurity firms like Threat Connect and CrowdStrike that were, that got this stuff and identified what was happening. Well, the truth of the matter is that was all bullshit. Now, that they had made this stuff up. And that's what had taken place. So when you get to the place where you see John Brennan's fingerprints, then he lied under oath. You see Christopher Wray's lying under oath. You see James Clapper lying under oath. Comey lying under oath. What I want to see is I want to see Hillary Clinton I want to see her go under oath. I want to see John Podesta under oath. I want to see these people come out and lie again to the American people, which guaranteed the next one, all you're going to hear is, I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth. So again, this story is the biggest story of your life. I hope you understand that. And if you could, I think what you need to do is you need to get on the phone and you need to start banging on your local congressman. You need to start banging on your senator. You need to start banging on the Department of Justice, and you need to demand something takes place, right? Enough. We have to get someone under oath in a court through these indictments. Now, I did see John Radcliffe, the head of the CIA, was on with Maria Bartiromo on Fox, saying that they continue to find all this discovery and they are sending it to the DOJ, so that it's in Pam Bondi's court again. So I'll tell you what, Pam, unless you want something to the tune of a revolution taking place, you better start laying those indictments down. All right. Check out Mike Benz. Go visit him on X. Check out Matt Taibbi, because that's where all this stuff lives. All right. The next story I want to cover, and this is a trip, man. Just on August 1st, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics Commissioner, Erica McEntefar, was fired by Donald Trump. Now, why? Because those BLS statistics that had been released in May and June basically came out and they had to revise them, not by several hundred or a couple thousand, by tens of thousands. Now, if any of you remember these statistics that were popping off last summer and in the lead up to the election, you remember what we ended up discovering too is that 2 months later, after all these came out on these monthly basis, they were all revised. And those numbers were revised by hundreds of thousands in terms of errors.
Revised in the same direction. That's key.
That's right.
Were all, not just sometimes we make mistakes, we have to correct it. That would be understandable when it's always revised in the direction that makes them look worse after the fact. That's where, it's a little bit suspicious.
Little bit. They're cooking the damn books, Jordy. There's no other doubt that they are cooking the books to make it look like the economy's healthier than it is in order to help what? What does that do? What does that do for the stock market? What does it do for investment? What does it do for pension plans? What does it do for the American investor? What does it do for banks? All right. These statistics are critical statistics that, people at my company, the economists that I work with, man, these are the statistics that enable them to predict how the economy is looking. And you know, I've seen one incredible economist out there. His name's Brian Westbury. And this guy has been predicting like a downfall in the economy for quarter after quarter after quarter, but it wasn't happening. Why? Because a lot of these statistics are cooked. Now, I want you to ask yourself this. Think about this. If this person who was put in, can you look up when she was put into office and when she was nominated and put into office for me?
Yes.
Thanks, Jordy. So, and then when you can put up that graph for me too, so people can just see the changes. So think about this, right? If the BLS commissioner, right, the head of these critical numbers that affect the entire economy, if they're cooking the books to make the administration look good, what other commissioners are cooking the books? What other places are books being cooked, right? We already know that DOD has not passed an audit. I don't even know when. We already know that in the intelligence community, the complete illegality of funding, you know, these fake nonprofits. We already know that Department of State, Homeland Security was paying billions and billions of dollars to NGOs to illegally house illegal aliens in places all over the country and move them around and asylum. We know they're cooking the books on that. We already know that the FBI was cooking the books on crime statistics. So think about the ramifications, right? If our entire whole thing is based on cooked books, what happens eventually? Well, it's just a house of cards. Don't even get me started on how the books could potentially be cooked in the markets, right? And I know Jordy loves to go down those rabbit holes and to talk about short selling and Bitcoin and all of that.
You know what a really interesting chart is? It kind of speaks for itself, that you should just look into and let your mind go down whatever rabbit hole it takes you down. So if you look at the stock market for the past 100 years, you can see it's a pretty great line up and to the right? Never bet against the US market. It's going up over time on average, blah, blah, blah. What's interesting is that but you have to realize that the stock market is priced in dollars, and dollars, the value of the dollar changes up and down over time, right? So let's price the stock market in something that is fixed, such as gold. If you price the stock market in gold for the past 100 years, it's flat. So what does that tell you? Did the stock market go up, or did the value of the dollar go down? That's the real question.
It collapsed.
It collapsed.
The value of the dollar is collapsed.
Money? Are you really making money? No.
You want to go even down a darker hole. Where's the 38 trillion? Where's the $21 trillion we've spent in the last, 16 years or 20, 24 years, or whatever it is? Where is that money? Where's it been accounted for? Where's it going? So my point of all this is that this is, I think, indicative of where I know you listening to me right now feel very similar to I was like, well, damn, everybody's cooking the books, but if I try and cook the books or just find a tax loophole and something goes wrong, man, I'm going to jail, right? And I've been audited. I had this horrific tax guy over in Naples, Florida. I forget what name it is. I'll remember it. This guy was a complete shit. It was like Chattahoochee tax things over there. This guy completely robbed a bunch of contractors, cheated us. Well, guess what? The IRS came after me big time, and just like it was horrible experience, man. And they hit me with a massive tax, like fine, and that I had to pay and all this. And I'm like, dude, well, what about all these other people that are cooking the books? Like, what happens to them? And I think this is the challenge. And this is when you hit a system that is so fundamentally flawed, what do we do? So again, one of the things that I see that's coming out that I really love, and I think every state in the union should begin to do this. We saw our governor here in Florida, Ron DeSantis, initiate his own Doge thing, but he just came out and relabeled it something else. So hold on, I'm going to tell you which Ron DeSantis. Okay, you're going to love this, Jordy. All right,
I'm excited.
He relabeled it like FAFO, right?
Oh, got it. Yeah.
He relabeled it. I can't find it right now. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling through all of his stuff right now, but it was so freaking funny, man. So what's the point is like, he's going to get into each one of these counties and he's going to look at their budget. He's going to look at what they're spending on, and he's going to start to evaluate whether or not they're cooking the books. Cause every day we see this things happening. And I recommend, if you are on your own city council, or if you're in local legislation or whatever, school board, I suggest you do it too. Force a forensic audit of the books, right? And if not, if you're just a member of the community, sign a petition. Most petitions to force your city council to act are not grand, but this is the one unifying thing that I think no matter who's in office, everybody gets behind. Where's the corruption? Who's cooking the books, and who's getting paid? So again, this is another thing. All right, the last one that I want to talk about, brother, really just is my mind kind of
the rise of Nazism in America. That's the story.
Well,
that's what I was told.
According to the Obama administration and the Biden administration, the number one threat to Americans are white supremacist groups that are comprised of former operators, GWAT people, and fascist Nazis. Right,
led by Sydney Sweeney, the whole battalion.
You beat me to the punch, you son of a gun. All right. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Sydney Sweeney's ad and the complete and utter meltdown from radical, progressive, crazy people, right?
I can't believe they're doing this again.
Oh, they want to.
Have they learned nothing?
Well, they can't. It's broken. Like they can't. It doesn't work anymore. And that's what happens in all societies, right? At some point, first, let's just talk about the ad. All right. Now, my first introduction to Sydney Sweeney was within the HBO show called Euphoria. For me, that was an incredibly difficult show to watch, mostly because everybody represented in the show were minors. And there was massive drug use. There was all kinds of sexual exploitation and inappropriate stuff. But man, there's a component of that exists within society. And so, you go back the old movie Basketball Diaries, or, there's, these really kind of hardcore indie films that, portray the really, dysfunctional underbelly of society within its youth. And the acting in it is brilliant. Her character in particular is incredibly heavy. She did an amazing job. But there was kind of not much because, at that time, Victoria's Secret models were have been ostracized to the sidelines, and we still had those ads that had been now consumed with really unhealthy people, and we were trying to promote them as the standard or what should be looked at, right? We should be forced to look at somebody with their eyes open like Clockwork Orange or whatever it is, and stare at something in the 1984 fashion and that is not attractive and say, oh, yay, that's beautiful. Right. And that's what they were able to accomplish for a long period. Well, that ship has sailed, man. And so when this ad dropped a couple weeks ago, I remember seeing, I hadn't seen an ad like that in a long, long time. Now, I'm a child of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? And you want to talk about attractive women selling just about everything there is to sell. you just got to go to the 1980s, dude, right? Because feminism had kind of knocked it down a little bit in the 70s. There was still, if it bleeds, it leads. And then also sex sells, right? And so the 80s, they basically, what they do, they're like, get out of my face. We're going back to this. What emerged out of the 80s? The Bud Light commercials, the beer, every single beer commercial had a college age girl in a bikini, partying, selling that. And every single major motion picture, right? Every major, attractive move, Cindy Crawford, Christy Turlington, all those mega models when they first started. And then of course, Victoria's Secret blew up in the 90s and like, my God, it was unbelievable. And so, but then what, slowly they picked at it, they went away. And we had people that don't take great care of themselves become these spokesmodels. Well, this thing launched and it's simple and it's genius. And, I think it immediately getting spread everywhere, and the memes are hilarious, and if you can post that one of Trump in his jean outfit, I love that. Oh my God, that thing is just so good, and then put up the one the Babylon Bee did with Hitler in the jean outfit. I mean, just
incredible.
It's absolutely stunning to me.
I heard someone saying that Trump's being Barron's wingman for Sydney.
Oh my God. I saw a meme this morning. I showed it to Jonna, and it's Trump in front of people in the White House. And the quote is, it's from Autistic Capital, which by the way is one of my favorite sites I follow on X. And it says, in quotations, all right, Barron wants to hook up with the Sweeney girl. I need all of you to make it happen, end quote. Right. And it's just,
dude, you want to talk about eugenics for a second, dude, the genes in that couple, Barron and Sydney, bro.
Well, it's kind of funny because as you see this, I mean, it's like, what is the big deal? I mean, if I'm going to advertise, I want to catch people's attention, put someone beautiful in front of the camera or whatever. And you're wired for that, dude. I mean, Jordan Peterson does this huge piece in a couple different lectures back in the day where there's science that says, right, how do women, pick who they're going to be? And it's by their physical features and attributes. And the same thing is with men, right? We gravitate towards this facial beauty and all this. It's built into it. The problem is men have an exorbitant way of getting rejected, as do, I think everybody unattractive struggles. I know I've struggled a ton. And so, but what was interesting is that it kind of crescendoed to where it was Sydney Sweeney. And it started when she went on SNL a couple years ago and she gave her monologue, and, her chest was literally popping out of her dress, and like the left went insane. Like, oh, the hell this is crazy. Who's this white woman and why is she putting her boobs and selling and all that? And finally, she's a really good actress, and you're like, wait a minute. And she's funny. And I just saw a video of her shooting the other day, which I was like,
dude, she was good.
Dude, she was running that gauntlet, bro. She was running that gauntlet. And, so here she's emerging. She's emerging for beauty. She's talented. American Eagle's stock was not great. It was like 10, before the ad, it was like at $10.66. And hey, man, put that graph up now. I sent you. I mean, you look at that, it's over $13, and that's in a week and a half. So it appears that American Eagle actually made a good decision, right? And you can look at the greater impact around all the different societal places we've seen this. And what's taking place is that we're no longer shutting people. The thing has become inverted, right? The cancel culture is no longer effective, right? Because when you call Sydney Sweeney a Nazi, it's so stupid. It's so ludicrous. And you know what I'm talking about. You're listening right now. You're going, yeah, this is stupid. Like, even if you can't stand the over objectification of women. And listen, I'm hyper aware of it. I have 4 daughters. I think about it all the time, but man, to call a person a Nazi and saying that her in a pair of jeans is white supremacy and Nazism and so on, you're nuts. That's plain and simple. And
even if you said it was a bad ad, like, I don't think it was a bad ad, but at least I would say, okay, that's your opinion. That's a fair opinion. That's fine. You didn't like it. You don't like the jeans. You didn't like the pun of the she has great jeans, whatever. But to go all the way to Nazi, it's like, it's satirical.
It 100% it is. And what I love is they keep doubling down on the thing that has collapsed their own movement. And so nobody's playing a game anymore. And that's why you have the rise of Shane Gillis, right? You have the rise of comedians back and, Kill Tony and his stuff and all of these people where it's like, you know what, to hell with you. We're going to tell hilarious jokes. We're going to make fun of people. We're going to use derogatory terms. We're going to use sex to sell our jeans. And you know what? If you don't like it, go pack sand, go get bent, because your madness, your own insecurity or whatever you want to call it, we're done with it. We're done with it. And so, go pull it over to your little whatever thing you want to do to pump yourselves up. Or you know what? Go get fit, go get dialed in, get skinny, put on a pair of jeans, push your boobs out and go have fun in the world. Right. And I know I'm going to get crucified because is that what you tell your daughters? What I do tell my daughters is I say, take care of yourself, be fit, be proud of your bodies. Right. And don't be afraid, don't be self-conscious about it. And, we look sometimes every now and then, one of the girls will be like, man, I'm out of shape. I'm fat. I don't feel good about myself. And we're like, all right, let's go get on that treadmill, right? Let's get out there. Let's go get fit. Let's work out. And thank God, John is such a wonderful influence on them about body positivity and helping them deal with that. And
you're real really Nazi about it.
But what'd you say?
You're a real Nazi about it. Real health Nazi over here.
Oh my God. She does have a degree in nutrition, right? So yeah, she's definitely a health Nazi, right? But the point of all this is, listen, you're not winding this clock back. You're not shutting anybody down. It ain't going to happen. And if, so it's just going to keep growing it. The more you fight it, the more the rest of us are going to fight back. And I love to see that thing coming back. I love to see, things that are normal and what's healthy and, what makes people, if you don't like it, don't look at it. And if you don't want it, if you want to go ahead and get in your little echo chamber and start calling everybody Nazis, you just look like a moron. And that is what it is. So,
you know what though? They're never going to stop. They're never going to stop because they can't. You know why? It attacks the foundation of their whole ideology on the left, which is, hey, we are going to lift up and actually put on a pedestal the marginalized community. And
That's
what
right.
marginalizes people more than beauty, right? By definition, only a few people are the most beautiful. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the word beautiful, right? And so it's just an inversion of the whole pyramid, right? You lift up the people who are unattractive. You call the not beautiful, beautiful, and it all connects, right? You're just flipping the whole pyramid. And it's the same thing. I'll just loop it back to our first story, right? You've inverted the justice system. Instead of having a person who committed a crime, then you judge the evidence, and then you charge that person with a crime. You just flip it and you go, well, what crime do we want? What evidence do we need? Now we can find the person that matches those evidence. And so this is their whole ideology. They're not going to stop because they can't, because that's who they are.
Well, go for it. First Amendment rights, you got all day, say what you want, but so do we. And we're going to call you an idiot. We're going to call you moron. And you know what we're going to call you? We're going to call you communists, right? We'll be Nazis, you be communists, whatever. It's just dumb, all of it, right? Let people do their thing. It ain't hurting you, so shut up.
I need some American Eagle jeans.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, a lot of people are going to get those jeans now, right? Now it's going to be gene wars out there. That's what we're going to see next, right? Guess is coming back. Levi's, it's going to have to drop. It's crazy, social justice campaigns and go back to putting beautiful people in tight jeans, right? from
all the
back in
conservative rallies, all the dudes are going to be wearing American Eagle jeans. It's going to be a right-wing dog whistle. That's my favorite term.
Yeah, the dog whistle's coming. All right. Again, we thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate all your support. If you want to support us, best thing you can do is share this with friends, share our show with other people, get people talking about it. You can use it if you want to put it on your platform. Go ahead and share it all you want. We dig it. You can find us on all social media at David Rutherford Show. On X, it's at D Rutherford Show. But we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X. We actually post the full-length show on X and on YouTube, so you can find it there. You can follow me at Team Frog Logic. And if you want to know more about all the different things that we're doing and we got going off the show itself, go visit davidrutherford.com. We'd love to have you check out some of the things that we got going on there. We got a lot of exciting things we're about ready to release here in the next couple weeks, so pay attention. I'm sure you will hear me inspire you to take a look. A lot of good things coming your way. So that being said, go buy a pair of jeans, go call out the corruption in the government, and don't trust the numbers you look at every day. Hoo-yah. God bless.